am here with the book sacrifice tag, and I'm not sure who the original creator of this tag is, but if I can find out I will link their channel down below. I think I need to preface this video by saying that if I mention any of your favourites, please don't take it as a criticism of the book. This is really just a little bit of fun, and I will give reasons for my selections for each of these, but I'm just going to jump right in. So number 1 is an overhyped book. So which overhyped book would I sacrifice in the case of a zombie apocalypse? I'm going to go with, and this might be controversial, and again, I'm sorry if you love this series, but it's the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. And I've spoken about this series quite a lot on my channel, but I really like this series. I like the characters, I like the storyline, I like the world. The trouble I have with it is that it was just overhyped. There were so many people here on BookTube saying that this series is absolutely amazing, incredible, best books ever, so good. And yeah, they are good, but the hype really ruined them for me, unfortunately. I felt like the books couldn't live up to that hype. They were good books, but they weren't the amazing, incredible, best written books ever that I was expecting them to be. So for that reason, this series is a sacrifice for me, which is a real shame because I did like it, but the hype train was real. Next question is a sequel, and this is potentially controversial, but I doubt it because I feel like a lot of people feel this way about this book, and it's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Harry Potter is a series beloved by many. I don't think I've met many, if not any people who don't love the original Harry Potter series, and I was worried about this book. When I heard this book was coming out, I was worried, and unfortunately I was justified in being worried because there were so many places that J.K. Rowling could have taken the Harry Potter series in the future that would have been great, but unfortunately this just wasn't one of them. I think a lot of people struggle with the fact that it's written as a play. I don't necessarily have any difficulty with that in particular. I just feel like it just wasn't great. It just wasn't great. The character building wasn't up to the standard that the character building was in the original series, and it felt like the characters were just a little bit whiny, unfortunately, and I feel like J.K. Rowling could have just done so much more with a continuation in this world than this. Now, I understand that she wanted to go back to Hogwarts in this one because, of course, the Fantastic Beasts films focus on life after school, which is fine, and I personally really enjoy the Fantastic Beasts franchise because it does focus on witches and wizards who have finished with their school and are out in the world practicing magic, and that to me is super interesting because I find it really cool to watch magicians actually use magic rather than learning to use magic and not really knowing what they're doing. But this one, we're back at school, which is fine. And it felt a little bit like a regurgitation of the original series, but not in a good way. Like, just the characters weren't that engrossing for me, and it's a real shame. I kind of always thought that if JK went back to the original series and the original characters that she'd follow Ben, which is the son of Remus and Tonks. But no, she went with Harry's son and just didn't do it for me. Sorry. Number 3, a classic. Crime and Punishment. And I haven't read all of this book, but the reason I'd sacrifice this classic is because I tried to read this book and it was just too dark for me. Like, the first, I don't even know how much of it I read. I was quite young, so maybe I'm prejudging, but it was just so creepy to be in the mind of this guy who was contemplating murder for fun. I just I couldn't do it. It was just too dark, too creepy, too psychological for me. No. Ugh. And lastly, fourthly and finally, least favourite book of life. And this is really difficult for me because I generally like most books that I read, but this is actually another classic, and I think the reason I struggled so much with this one is because it was enforced reading for school, and so I had to read all of it, even though I probably wouldn't have chosen to read all of it, and that is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Great Expectations. I'm sorry, but I found it so boring. I really struggled to follow it. I found it incredibly dull, incredibly slow, incredibly boring. I didn't enjoy it, and I had to read it, and that's, I think, why it's my least favourite book of life, because although I don't DNF books very often, this is one that I would have DNF'd had I been able to. But because I had to read it for school, I had to push through it, and I resent it for that reason, because I really, really, really just disliked it. I was bored, I didn't find it interesting, I didn't find the characters engaging, I didn't really understand the point of it. Yeah, least favourite book I've ever read. Sorry. To redeem myself, I will say that I do love A Christmas Carol, so it's not all Charles Dickens, it's just that one. And that's it. This is, again, meant to be just a fun video, so if you like any of these books that I mentioned, then please don't feel offended, and please tell me down below why you loved them and why you think that I should give them another chance, maybe. I'd love to hear from you. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and would like to see more from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button. I'd be so grateful. And I hope to see you again here soon. Thanks. Bye.